Hey, what is up guys? Massive here, back to do another Kane's Wrath video. I got two games to share with you all today. It's going to be an end of the week video, probably going to release this on Friday. But these two games here are pretty unique, pretty interesting, as are all games featuring me. Now, if you do watch me live, you'll notice that I do lose a lot of games experimenting and trying things out, but at the end of the day, I do manage to come out of it with a couple of things learnt. Like, for instance, I discovered the potential that carriers have on a certain map. You'll see that in the future. Don't want to spoil that just yet, but there's a couple planned strategies that I want to do this weekend. Stay tuned to my YouTube channel because I'm going to showcase some of the things I have been working on. This strategy in this game here is somewhat of, it's not really new, but it is sort of new in R20 due to the new additions in that patch. And by the way guys, if you want to download and install R20, the links will be down in the description. Don't forget to check that out. I have a mega link which contains not only R20 map packs, but also the 4K mod as well, which I highly encourage you guys to use if your PC can handle it. As long as your PC is decent-ish, it should run the 4K mod, no problem. It fixes a ton of bugs and improves the texture quality, adds shaders as well. Lots of things have been done in the 4K mod and R20. So I just want to throw that out there before this game gets really underway, because I see a lot of new players in the comment section asking me where to get this, how to play online. Maybe I should make in the future a video on how to download and install the C&C Online launcher. I know Bike Rush Owns has done something similar, but I feel like I should also do the same. Walk you through the process on getting Kane's Wrath up and running if you're a Steam user or an Origin user. I think it's called EA Play now. They've changed the branding, but it's the same thing, more or less. I think the cost of this game is a bit excessive on Steam. It's about $15, but you have to remember, you can't play Kane's Wrath without the expansion pack. So Steam is charging $30 US for these two games, and the unfortunate thing about that is they don't offer official servers. I think that's quite a pity, really, charging that much money and not offering an official server. If you are interested in playing Tiberium Wars and Kane's Wrath, I actually encourage you guys to check out the Ultimate Collection, which is on Origin. That is a much better value, because then you can get all the games. Not just Kane's Wrath and Tiberium Wars, but also Red Alert 3 and all the other games in the Command & Conquer franchise. So that is definitely the way I would go. Or just wait until there's a Steam sale. But yeah, this is going to be Reaper 17 versus ZOCOM, the two factions without artillery. ZOCOM, they don't get railguns either, but they do have really powerful aircraft, and Skrin struggles against it. Reaper 17 though, not so much, because they've got these Shardwalkers which have 30% more damage compared to the Gunwalker. Potentially 60% more if you get the blue Shard Launcher upgrade. Tournament Odyssey though, a pretty recognizable map. This map has been played for many years. Technique definitely pulled it off. An amazing map here. Look at that one buzzer there, just killing 3 buzzers. Unfortunately, Senna losing all of those engineers. He was probably going to take the Tiberium spikes over with Call for Transport, which is a good strategy. You can do that. There's a Foxhole in my base there, but I can't put infantry inside of it as a Skrin player. Skrin units can't garrison Foxholes aside from the buzzers. But I'll tell you what Skrin do get, and that is a damage bonus against civilian buildings. Probably due to the campaign missions, or the fact that they are invading Earth and they're supposed to destroy all the civilian infrastructure. That is how it also is online and in PvP. So garrisonable structures will take more damage from screen units. I've got this tier 2 army comprising of Ravagers, Shardwalkers, Disintegrators, and Dev Tanks. No tripods for me just yet. And that's really the unorthodox thing about this. And since I'm going for Ravagers and Shardwalkers, it makes the most sense here to go for that blue shard upgrade. Remember, as Reaper 17, you do get the attenuated force fields upgrade, which is available at your tier 2. It gives the Shardwalkers and Seekers a minor force field, which will allow them to absorb a bit more damage. Any little thing like that can help. And I'm researching that blue shard upgrade. I got these Ravagers, which are really good against APCs, really good against those Predator tanks, especially so when they get upgraded with the blue shard launcher. I'm going for an expansion, but I just realized my outpost is already set up at the expansion, so no need to expand with that drone ship just yet. And by the way, guys, if you like me dubbing over my games like this, then do leave a like, and I will continue to do my videos in this format. I can post the original commentary, but a lot of the time I do get mad and I don't want to post unprofessional commentary. I used to be able to talk while playing really well, but nowadays I focus more on playing, especially when I'm trying to be super unorthodox. I think this is the reason why I struggle a bit more now, because I'm trying to reinvent the wheel constantly, trying to constantly be fresh with new ideas. Ravagers moving in here, going to use the tip agitation, which is an ability that Ravagers have, which will allow them to target units and structures that contain Tiberium, dealing massive damage to them. Tip agitation getting thrown down on that harvester as well. A rocket harvester does fall. Ravagers very powerful against tanks, but as you see, they're also very fragile. Getting one shot there by the sonic emitter. The shock troopers have more resistance to those base defenses compared to Ravs, and in the most recent R20 patch, shock troopers also benefit from slightly more health. They are a lot better than they used to be. But I'm going to transition into an Eradicator Hexpod, which traditionally for Reaper 17 has been a bad play because they don't get the ability to teleport it. But in R20, you can now garrison in your Eradicator Hexpod these Ravagers, and of course you could do that in vanilla, but the only difference here is it gets blue shards. So the Ravagers will also get upgraded in the Eradicator Hexapod. You'll see the hardpoint itself change from green to blue, and now this Eradicator Hexapod will deal significantly more damage. It's about 70% more damage for this unit. Several other tweaks have been made to make that hardpoint overall better. Not just the blue shard, but the green shard as well. It's an expensive hardpoint. It's one of the most expensive ones because Ravagers cost $1,200. And now moving in here with these blue Shardwalkers. Lots of Zone Raiders, which are a problem for Reaper 17 because they deal massive splash damage. And even these heavily upgraded Shardwalkers are struggling against the Zone Raiders. I summon in the Shock Pod's ability, which is a support power seldom used. It gives you 3 veteran Shock Troopers, and that is amazing for reinforcements, especially in situations where your opponent has no anti-imp. You can combo that with the Tiberium Vibration Scan and use it in your opponent's tip field. That's an amazing harassment strategy. So now's the time to use the super weapon that I have. It's not a super weapon really, but we like to call it one. It's the Stasis Shield. I'm going to summon that in, and now this Eradicator Hexpod getting healed up by several Corruptors will be able to move in and take out these Mav tanks. Shardwalkers will also help me defend against aircraft. If he's got zone heads, then that will be a pretty bad thing for him. Eradicator Hexpod though moving in, you can see how much damage these blue Shard Ravager hardpoints are doing. And the moment those Zone Raiders came out of the Stasis Shield, they got all targeted down by those Shardwalkers. Ravagers and Shardwalkers completely finishing off that army. And in the meanwhile, there's a Marv in my base. Senna, he's going to start harvesting that field. I'm going to deny my expansion, but at the same time, I'm somewhat denying his. Senna, though, is still harvesting from this field. I'm trying to put the tip agitation on these forces. Not quite going to happen, though. I pull back all my harvesters because I don't want to lose them, of course, so that's good micro. And Zone Raiders is in fact the right play. So we're seeing here Ravagers versus Zone Raiders. Really interesting strategy. No tripods at all for me in this game. Remember, Reaper 17 is mostly about tripods, or it was. But this is a different playstyle, and this Eradicator Hexbot here is just getting so much resources with its recycling system. I'll be able to fund my army with this Eradicator. Even though I'm not harvesting from this field, each kill with the Eradicator Hexbot will give me resources. Even structures, when they are destroyed, do grant resources. So it's probably best to sell the structures off before they get destroyed, just to deny the Hexapod that money. And I think it one-shot kills harvesters with those 3 Ravager hardpoints inside of it. Ravagers will respond to this Marv. Now the Ravagers deal gun damage, which the Marv resists pretty well. Those dev tanks are charged up. They've got the conversion reserves upgrade, which will grant the dev tank 20 shots of charge, which is a significant amount. And this Hex here is just going to barely come out alive. It has an engineer, if I recall correctly, as well. So it's got 2 and it's 2 Ravagers and an engineer. Engineers were buffed in R20. It was increased by 66% the heal rate on the Eradicated Hexbot, because it was pretty poor before, and players of course would choose to put in other units in their Hex, like Disintegrators or even the Shock Troopers. Now pretty much every garrison has its utility. The Mastermind inside of the Hex is a little bit weaker than it used to be, because there is a delay now. The Hexbot cannot move for approximately 2 seconds after completing a self-teleport with the Mastermind garrison, which prevents the Hex from being able to crush Juggernauts and Mammoth tanks and quickly escape with the other Mastermind teleport unit's ability. So that's how I decided to go with balancing the Hexapod. The Corruptors also have less heal rate on the Hex, which overall works out to be pretty good. Nothing was removed, just toned down. The extremes were toned down. And that's going to be game 1. I hope you all enjoyed that unique strategy there with the Blue Shard Reaper 17 against ZOCOM. Zone Raiders versus Ravagers. Not something you see every day. Let's go on to game number 2 and see what that one's all about. Alright guys, and I'm back to do game number 2 of this video. Hope you enjoyed that last game. We're going to be now on Tournament Arena, a classic Kane's Wrath / Tiberium Wars map. This is one of the first maps that was showcased in Tiberium Wars, and to this day it continues to be a very good map. This was Technique's favorite map as well. The Legend Technique. A lot of his maps are actually inspired by Tournament Arena because of the flat terrain and just how the Tiberium fields are positioned on it. But I'm going to be, in this game, ZOCOM. So once again, I'm going to be a faction featuring no artillery units. My opponent's center will be playing as GI Vanilla. I did play on Decrepit Arena versus Futurama. You can find that on Cyber's channel for Ladder Wars, but I did somewhat of a weird strat early on. I think I went for Airborne, ZOCOM Airborne very early because I didn't know the map too well. The blue field started off full. I don't think it really should be permitted as a Ladder Wars map. Just gonna take a sip of water here because it is pretty warm. A bit of anti-scouting for me. I don't want Senate to be digging foxholes in my base because they're very hard to dislodge once they're dug. So it's worth it just to sell 1 or 2 of these towers. Though you have to be careful you don't sell too many, otherwise you won't be able to finish your second refinery. That was just enough watchtowers for me to sell before I run out of funds. I did manage to complete that second if you don't want to be delayed at all at this stage of the game. Now ZOCOM, they've got very good mid-game options. They've got ZOCOM Walkers, they've got infantry upgrades that take less resources and time to get. They have really good Shatterer tanks. Shatterers used to cost $1,600. They actually had to pay a premium for their ability, which was very micro-intense. That was reduced to $1,500, the same as the GI Shatterer. Really weird decision by EA. Nonetheless though, a lot of things are weird, like the ZOCOM Harvesters and Steel Talons Harvesters were harvesting slower as well compared to the GI ones. You know, these are just one of thousands of reasons that you guys should be playing R20. I'm going for an armory strategy on 2 fields. This is a really good strategy on this map. As long as I can anti-scout my opponent, and I can do that by selling a barracks, because it's $250. This is why I sell my barracks here, because it's a discounted rifleman. I pay $50 less for it. And I'm going for an infantry transition anyway, so the extra rifles are actually good in this situation. It's not a waste. I can dig foxholes in my opponent's Tiberium field and be a nuisance. I'm going to summon in the ZOCOM airborne as well. That'll give me 2 veteran missile squads and 2 veteran rifles. And in R20, that white crate that you saw on the armory is also present on the barracks to denote the Tiberium field suits upgrade is researched for that player. I'm going to dig some foxholes in this tib field though. And that's enough. You don't want to really overcommit into infantry. This is a decent amount just to put pressure onto your opponent to make him overspend on anti-infantry. The goal here is to do some economic damage while I set up some transition behind this, which will most likely be Predator tanks, because I know my opponent will have to counter this with either hammerheads, watchtowers, or APCs, which makes it an ideal time for me to go into either Shatterer tanks or Predators. But before then, I need more eco up. I'm going to go for a second war factory. I can do this because there is a blue Tiberium field on this map. And if you garrison one of the bunkers near the blue Tiberium field at the start of the game, then you won't have to scout the blue Tiv field to send your harvesters there. You can just select one of your harvesters and send it to that blue Tiv field, no problem. Get the command on that blue Tiberium. But I'm going to keep up the pressure. I'm a very aggressive player. By no means was that an all-in. I've got 3 refineries. Senna as well, more or less the same as me economically. He's got a wall of watchtowers there. No AP ammo, but he's probably researching AP ammo from a command post because he doesn't know if I'm going to be continuing with the pressure with infantry or if I'm going to be ecoing up or if I'm going for Preds. But I'm instead going for these APCs and Predator tanks. I dug another line of foxholes just so I can delay a counter attack from Senna while I get my eco established better. And I've got plenty of harvesters, plenty of refineries, lots of foxholes here. These are very effective for their cost. With no AP ammo online, it takes a lot of firepower to dislodge those foxholes. So $100 is well worth the investment, especially with some Preds and APCs to assist. They'll just tank shots from these Pred tanks while I kill my opponent's forces. And I'm sorting out my economy here. I've got lots of harvesters, but my eco isn't doing too well. It's not looking too healthy. So I need to just chill for a little bit. So I'm going to take more of that blue Tiberium. I can go for even Shadow tanks at this point, or even a rig. There's lots of options for me against GDI, but most of all, I need to make a response in advance to the Juggernauts, which I'll likely encounter. And as ZOCOM, your answer to Juggernauts is going to be the ZOCOM Orca. It's $1,300, and if it's supported with anti-air, with vehicles such as Predator tanks, then you'll be able to do a lot with those ZOCOM Orcas. It's really only the Firehawks that counters these. But I've got the Pred tanks out. Senna as well, likewise also with those Preds, but he's only on that 1 war factory. I'm going to make a rig here just so I can get some frontline repairs. Hammerhead's taking out my harvest. This was very hurtful, very hurt for me. 2 of my harvesters, unfortunately, are going to go down to those hammerheads. That'll deny me of nearly 5 grand of resources, which is no measly sum. I got the Orcas. Unfortunately, I did reveal them to Senna there, but I'm not sure if he quite saw those. Hammerheads will be forced to retreat. AP ammo, APCs, very powerful though. It doesn't seem like I've got that upgrade. Going for these Orcas as well. I think instead of APCs, I should have gone into more Predator tanks. That was a bit of a mistake by me. Could have had 5 or 6 more Pred tanks, and that would have been very effective. But it would have still not mattered against the Sonic emitters that Senna now has access to. I'm going to fly into these Juggernauts and just target them down very quickly. And those Orcas have already paid for themselves. There's 2 Juggernauts down, and I've inflicted $4,400 of damage, so I can afford to lose 3 ZOCOM Orcas now, and that would have been worth it. The rig has better anti-air on it now. The missile launcher on the rig no longer deals barely any damage. It's been buffed nearly 300%. So you can use those rigs as anti-air. You can even RGA your rig, Railgun Accelerator, it as Steel Talons, and the missile launcher is also affected by that Railgun Accelerator. That's to say that you'll get a doubling of rate of fire on your anti-air of the rig with the Railgun Accelerator support power playing as Steel Talons. Marv moving in. I accidentally queued all my harvesters in this frantic situation. I'm going to try and inflict as much damage on this Marv as possible. I've got the EMP grenades as well. Rebuilt my armory, and shockwave artillery gets fired off on my tanks. ZOCOM Orcas coming in as well, but the supersonic airstrike takes out all but 2 of my ZOCOM Orcas, so that did hardly any damage there. But despite that, I'm going to barely have enough to finish off this Marv. These Pred tanks and Marv getting 3 shots on my units. I'm losing a lot of forces there. The rig is near my war factory. Could possibly deploy near to the front line, but the Juggernaut will kill that in pretty much 2 shots. These Grenadiers, they're used for EMP, but against these Zone Troopers, Grenadiers are very effective. I've got the Tyrone Field Suits as well, which also buffs the Grenadiers. They're really good anti-infantry against these elite units. Shock Troopers, Zone Troopers, the Grenadiers counter those quite nicely. I'm moving in here for a counter attack. See more Juggernauts. I really need to put a lot of pressure on to GDI when I can. I did miss that Juggernaut there, unfortunately. I'm putting more damage on to Senna. Slingshot comes out for me so I can take out this Hammerhead. I can also crush my opponent's husk with this Slingshot. Slingshots do crush infantry. They crush husks can be crushed as well. So it's a great unit to use in that situation. 6 ZOCOM Orcas rebuilt for me. And now I'm going to get pushed by this wave of forces. I'm building Commando so I can jump on top of these Juggernauts and C4 them. But I need some way of dealing with these Hammerheads first before this Commando comes out. But fortunately I did make 2 Slingshots, which will have enough DPS to take out these Hammerheads. Hammerheads will go down there, and these Slingshots I can use for anti-infantry. APCs right on the front line. I teleport the Commando away from that AP ammo damage, and now this is going to be a push for Senna. Mammoth Tank being queued, Sonic Emitter being queued, but my harvesters are falling. I've got 2 Firehawks of my own here to counter Senna's Firehawks, because at this point I was anticipating he would try and counter my Orcas with Firehawks. So I've got those Firehawks standing by. They're also tanking shots from those missile squads and APC. Ceramic Armor doing so much for me. Mammoth Tank pops out of that war factory, and look at the turret turn speed of that Mammoth Tank. It was buffed in R20. Turret rotation is more. The rocket damage of the Mammoth is slightly more as well. ZOCOM benefits from the Mammoth changes as much as GDI and Steel Talons. I see for the Vauxhall, which is an unusual choice, but yeah, I'll do that nonetheless. I'm going to send that Commando back to the armory. You can heal infantry in that. It does take a little while though for infantry to get that full repair, but it does happen. And ZOCOM Orcas just sweeping in again for another attack. That MCV deploys just in the nick of time as well, and this attack has not yet been halted. I'm trying to get it off my doorstep. It's looking pretty dire for me still. The Mammoth Tank's working on that Conyard, but there's going to be an MCV that will just, the engineer that comes out and heals that up to full health. Slingshots move in for the crush. AA turret comes in, but this Commando I'm going to use against this infantry, and look at all the micro now. I'm pulling the Slingshots back to base for repair. I've got this Mammoth Tank as well, which I'm going to use to kill the APCs, because once I deal with the APCs, there'll be nothing to kill this Commando, and I can then finish off these rocket squads with this. And as you see, this Commando is just killing all of the missile squads. These are upgraded missiles, but the Commando, they can deal with those no problem. Commando says yo, and then takes out that MCV. Just like that, guys. Commandos have an ability where if you target the enemy structure with the jump jet ability, it will C4 that structure on landing. Very useful ability with the Commando. And in R20, Commandos, Zone Troopers, and Zone Raiders don't get attacked whilst they are in transit with their jump jet ability. So you can combat that really well and kill your opponent's structures. If your opponent, however, does fence that building, it won't be destroyed. That's a bug that was fixed in R20 as well. before, even if your MCV was fenced and the commando was given an order to kill it, it would still go down. Now that no longer is the case. I did fix that bug. So yeah guys, hope you all enjoyed that pretty frantic game there on Tournament Odyssey, and I am going to go get something to eat. Hope you all enjoyed it, and if you did, don't forget to smash the like button. I really appreciate that. And I'd like to thank everyone on my Patreon for supporting me and my YouTube channel, The Patch, the 4K mod. You guys, I can't express my gratitude enough. The game wouldn't be what it is today without your support, so thank you very much, and this is me, Master Leaf. Peace out.